Hello and good morning. My name is Addison Buell, and I am the solo indie developer behind SugoiPenguin Gaming. And this is going to be the first of, I hope, many devlogs. Um, kind of ca categorize, no, cataloging. There's the word. Cataloging my adventures as I make my first proper video game, My Liege. Um, and so thank you for joining me. Goal of this series will be just to be pretty casual, give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes of what's going on, how it's coming. Um, Talk about issues I've come across, how we've tackled them, ideas of where we could go in the future, things I like, things I know I need to work on, and yeah, just kind of give you a little look behind the scenes and maybe give you guys a great opportunity to give feedback, chime in on things you also like and stuff like that. So this one will be a little longer because I'm gonna over explain a couple of things just in case you guys aren't, never worked with Unity or whatnot. So plan is just quick, brief background of what I've already worked on in the past so you know how to properly judge me or give me a little benefit of the doubt of like, why would he code like this? Well, it's because I'm still learning. um, Give you a high level goal of what My Liege, the video game, is going to be, and then just kind of walk you through what I've done so far, show off a little bit of the things I've learned with Unity here, and wrap it up there. So brief background, I'm a mathematician at heart. Actually, I'm a landscaper at heart, probably, but mathematician by training, implementation, or software implementation by practice, by trade, and now after 10 years of doing that for Fast Enterprises, I'm learning Unity and building my own game. Um, I did the Unity Associate Programming Dev Cert to kind of give me a decent, solid footing to work off of. Because previously all I had done is kind of 2.5 years off and on making a meatball platforming game that was pretty decent for not having any formal training. We've got a cat sighting there. Um, but got some proper training, and now I'm ready to go off on my own video game here. So this is probably video game number 3, I would say. Meatball was number 1. Ski game that went with the course is number 2. This is gonna be the first proper one though that I actually want to make more than just a demo of. And so this is it. This is My Liege, and what a segue into what is My Liege going to be. High level, what I want My Liege to be is a medieval style, maybe kind of like think Games of Thrones style, um, city management or civ management. Uh, I hesitate to say civil like civilization or something like that because I want it to be narrower. Sorry, actively have a cat uh fighting the blinds right now. Great time, great timing. I'm hesitant to say you're managing a whole civilization though, because I want it to be a much more intimate and smaller game. Smaller in the sense that you are going to be the lord or lady of your noble house, but your noble house isn't like the king or queen. You don't rule the whole kingdom. You're not going for world domination. You are a small house that is pledged to a liege lord. Maybe they have a liege lord, and then they're a part of the big kingdom. So you're several layers away from like the top. And your goal isn't to become king or become queen. Your goal is just to do right by your town, to survive, to maintain your status as a noble house, and maybe improve your status as a noble house by improving your village, um, expanding your borders slightly, making good family connections, and impressing your liege lord to become one of their top houses that they rely on. Um, and so I want you to accomplish that by resolving issues as they come up, kind of not micromanaging everything in real time, but as events happen, you'll be presented with what's going on, the information you have, and then you have to make a choice. And I want them to be ambiguous. Which one's the best one? What sounds like the greatest choice? Because yeah, I'm gonna help. Let's say I'm gonna help my neighbor get their harvest in because I trade with them a lot. Well, now later, because your farmers are over helping their farms, maybe that leads to some problems in your town. You don't have enough people when your liege comes to levy an army, let's say. And so you lose a little respect from your liege. Well, that could be a problem. So I want it to be a game about events, your choices, and then dealing with the repercussions of those choices and seeing how that influences your house. Um, so a bit ambitious, a bit. First problem was where the heck do I start? Very intimidating problem. I'm not gonna lie. It's one reason why I focused on the dev course so much first couple of months after I left Fast was because I didn't know where to start on my own, and also I wanted to really focus up and study and get that done. But here is where I decided to start. I decided, even though I really wanted to find, actually, first off, I figured I want to focus on being my dev cycle to be very prototype driven. I want to prototype things. I want to be happy with first drafts and not overwork everything every time like I've done in the past. So, uh, goal is to prototype things. And so, if I'm prototyping, I was torn. Do I want the visuals first, or do I want to work on like the gameplay loop? What are your actual things that the player is going to be doing? Um, but the gameplay loop didn't make sense if I didn't have some visual representation of what was happening because of your choices. So we started with some visuals, and that's what we have here. So this is the game after about a week, and not much of a game. Game is a very loose term here. But I'm going to highlight just a couple of things just so you know what you're looking at in case you're unfamiliar with Unity. Unity's got the main editor screen in the middle here. You can kind of fly around and take a look at your game. On the left, you have your hierarchy of game objects. Everything's very object oriented. So, for examples, uh, in my essentials bucket here, I have like the camera, I have the light source, and here I have like the object that is the terrain. And then for each of those objects on the right here, this is the inspector. So it's showing you for this game object which components, which pieces of code are attached to them. So the terrain has a transform, which tells you where in the world space this terrain sits. It's got the terrain editor tool. It's got a collider to know when things hit it. It's got a nav mesh surface so that AI that's walking on it knows where the surface is. Stuff like that. And then down in the bottom left here is just my assets folders. So where I store like the models, the scripts, the terrain assets, things like that. So like I said, probably not gonna go this much into the weeds in future devlogs to keep them shorter, but just wanted to give you a quick tour. So starting with some visuals, my inspiration for this is a video game called Banished. It's a small, kind of like early American settlers style city manager where you're micromanaging your like 20 citizens and telling them which jobs to go do to try to survive as a town. Um, I don't want to micromanage, but I like that idea as a representation of what's happening. So I have this excuse me. I have this map here, this terrain, that's going to represent your fiefdom, your lands. Um, and we'll definitely add. One of the things we'll be adding is more detail to this, some 3D models to represent the areas. But right now, I just did that with some textures. The stone being like where your fort, your keep will be, the big brown area, like the marketplace of where the villagers live. And then this green pasture over here will be a farm. And these little cute yellow meeples, these guys are the people right now. Originally, I was picturing replacing these with um, a more like looking like actual people. But these have been growing on me a lot, so I kind of like the charm of them. And also, once I hit play, you'll see they got kind of a cute walk to them. They're actually growing on me quite a bit. Uh, they'll stick around for a while. Maybe this will be actually the charm because I don't know what visual style I'm gonna land on for quite a while yet. But these are representing the people that work in your uh, town, your on your lands, and that you're in charge of your peasants. And so um, with this, my first goal was to, like Banished, when you assign people to different areas, they go and actually work at those areas. Visually, you get that feedback. So, what I've built here is I've built 3 different locations. Over on the left here, we can see in my locations game object, I have a farm, guards, and market. And for each area, I define some waypoints, some targets for them to move between. And what I've written up here is um, the meeples, when they're walking, if they don't have a target, they'll ask the location to give them a new target. The location will randomly give them one, and then they'll walk to it. Then they'll pause, be happy, and then they'll, after a second or two, get assigned a new target and walk to that one. So it'll make it look like they're actually kind of working, milling about the area. And so let's hit play and see that. Ignore the giant pile of errors here. As Unity Dev goes, there's some random component that's unhappy about me using the new input system instead of the old one. I have to go find out where that is, so we'll just ignore that for now. But you can see here, the people's kind of working and bebopping around between their areas. So like over here, we have like our 8 farmers. In the brown area, we've got 4 guys that are assigned to be merchants. And then over here, we have the 3 guardsmen that I assigned. And if I actually, right now I'm just in the editor, so I can zoom around all I want. But for the actual game, this is what it looks like. And this camera, I had to program it myself. I've made a camera for both other games that I've worked on, though, so this wasn't too difficult. Um, but I've also added just a brief little UI element in the top left here to start practicing displaying the information of what's going on to the user. So you can see how many peasants are assigned to be farmers, how many are merchants and guards. And so, um, you know, menus like this will hopefully help provide the player with information to help them make choices. Um, that's pretty much what I have built so far. Some quick highlights of some of the issues that we kind of ran into as I was building this. First thing was to make the meeples. The main things that tripped me up a little bit were how to get them to mill about. Originally, I was trying to have it pick a random point in an area, which was very easy when I was talking about a square. But to talk about weirdly shaped areas on the map, that wasn't going to work. So I had to change the solution to implement waypoints. I think that's going to be a great choice in the long run. Because, for example, my guards, right now I just have them milling about the fort area. But I could definitely see myself wanting to have the guards also maybe go on a patrol. They make like a big loop through the town. Maybe they randomly will patrol the main road that goes in and out of your town to keep, travel safe. Whether that has impacts on gameplay at all, I don't know. But I think I wanted to at least be there for flavor visually. And so I can do that very easily with the waypoints. The next thing was to learn how Unity's nav mesh system worked, which is their way for AI navigation to work. So what that is right here is uh, first you define a nav mesh, which is how the game interprets your space and defines like where units can walk. Um, so I didn't have to do any of this. The game, Unity built this for me. But like for example here, this space that's not highlighted is too steep to walk on. So when Unity is making pathfinding calculations, it will go around this space. And then we have the agents here, which if I go ahead and highlight all my meeples, just like the locations, there's 15 of them, so there's 15 meeple game objects. I can open this up and see the calculations that the game is doing as meeples walk. So you can see these red lines with the red circles on the ground being the target for each meeple as they walk. So all this was built in. I just had to learn how to use the components, and there's a lot of settings involved. And so that was kind of a difficult challenge to start off with. The other thing was then just really coming up with more like the architecture ideas. How am I going to organize this stuff? Because I know I want there to be, a varying number of meeples. I'm not confident on how many locations or jobs I'm going to have. So I don't want to over-engineer things. I want a prototype, but I also want to build it intelligently so I'm not constantly hard coding and rewriting things. So I spent a little bit of time really game planning. How am I going to build the code to be scalable, but also I'm going to want there to be computer AI players that also have their own towns. And if you can see their lands, I want you to see their meeples walking around. So I needed to also not, I need to make sure the code doesn't assume there's only one player, or there's only one faction, one family. So what we're going for here is, and it's visually quite well displayed by the hierarchy over here, is we have kind of four main things that are scripts that are running things right now. I have on each meeple, there's a meeple mover script that is handling how I know everything about this one meeple, this one person, how it's gonna move, what state's it in, where is it gonna move to, stuff like that. And then I have a script attached to the meeples as a group that's managing all of the that handles anything that needs to know about all of the meeples in a faction. So when it comes time to say I need to add a meeple to the farm, find one that's available. I don't want to have to call each meeple individually, so I'm going to have one script that houses that kind of logic. And then similarly for locations, each location has a script that handles things that's specific. What does a farm need to know? But then we're going to have a script on the locations as a whole that says, hey, everything that could impact any location will be involved here. And so what's kind of been happening, and I'll use one example here that I really like, is in my Meeple mover code, I have this variable of the target. Where's the Meeple gonna move to? So I have a function called setNewTarget. The target, though, is determined by the waypoints attached to the location. But the Meeple doesn't know about that. So what's happening is the Meeple mover, the individual Meeple, ends up reaching out to the Meeple manager. The Meeple manager, who knows about all the Meeples, also knows about the location manager. So it asks the location manager to give me the target, but it needs to know which location that Meeple's a part of. So the Meeple tells it, I'm currently assigned to this role. Let's say it's a farmer. I'm currently assigned to be a farmer. So location manager, get me the next target for the farm. So the way this all looks is in the Meeple manager script, we have a um, the Meeple manager's only job is to have a reference to the location manager. This way, all 15 or however many Meeples we end up having, hundreds potentially, all of them don't need to know about the locations. All they need to know is they need to have a relationship with their Meeple manager, and their Meeple manager will, like a good manager, know the guys that it needs to talk to. So the Meeple manager forwards their call on to the location manager. The location manager is like, yeah, I know how to get you a target. Let me find it in here. I'm going to get you the next target, but I need to know which script you're talking to. Are you talking to the farm? Are you talking to the merchants? Are you talking to the guards? So it's got one little function down here that says, which role are we talking about? Oh, you're a farmer? Okay, for the farm script, let's get next target. Then we're finally on the piece of code that knows about the waypoints. And it can say, okay, hey, thank you. You're currently at this waypoint. I'll get you a new waypoint that's not this one, and I'll pass it back. So from an architectural standpoint, I think that this is going to work really well. It scales well. I can have two pieces of code that manage the locations and the meeples without caring how many there are. Some things I don't really love is the location manager currently. I have like some things hard coded. Like I since I have the three locations, this is like translating, you know, you need a target, but I need to know which location. So currently using an enumeration to do that because I don't want to have more than one farm assignment. That's too granular for me. Stuff like that. But having two managers that are handling things without caring about how many they are, and then each individual item, whether it's location or meeple, doesn't need to know about the other meeples and locations. Like it can focus on just it. And so I think that's going to make the code pretty easy to work with as I expand the game. Um, if that turns out to be a horrible decision, maybe in 2 or 3 devlogs, the title will be redesigning meeples and locations. I don't know. But that's at least what we're starting with. Um, but that's the game right now, and I think already talked longer than I intended to. But I'm excited. Future devlog's gonna keep them shorter. We're not gonna get into the weeds of like how does Unity work? What code have you worked on in the past, Addison? Stuff like that. We'll just talk. Main things is give you a sneak peek, highlight big decisions, and issues that I ran into and how we tackled them. Thank you for watching. I look forward to continuing this and um, talking about it with y'all. And let me know in the comments if you've got any suggestions that you want to see in the game or things that you really like. Meeples, is this a kind of cuter, simplistic, maybe the art style I want to go with? I don't know. We'll find out. But uh, this has been Devlog 1 for My Liege by SugoiPenguin Gaming, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.